Alright. So, working with epoxy 101. Gloves. I don't care how long you've been working with it. I don't care how careful you are. It's messy. Every time I think, oh, I'm good, I didn't spill any, and sure as shit, I always find some somewhere. The other thing I did was I took some larger popsicle sticks and I just chopped the ends off flat. The reason I did that is one of the advantages to the West System mixing cups is that they're like squared off in the corners, so you can really get all of it. They sell mixing sticks that are squared off like that, but hey, whatever. All right. Okay. Do one hole pump. Of each. I'm going to do a total of 2 pumps. Like I said, this is one of the reasons I like their system, is because it's easier to keep track of. Another tip for epoxy, mixing. You can never, seriously, no matter how much you mix it more. I will probably actually speed up this portion of the video when I post it, because I'll probably be sitting here mixing this for about 2 or 3 minutes yet. You'll know it's pretty much mixed. It'll have a good uniform color. It's almost a pinkish color. It'll also start producing a lot of air bubbles. And if you feel it, you'll feel just a little bit of heat starting to generate. Careful when you're opening your fillers, because especially this thin one, it will poof out into the air thanks to static. Stuff is literally like statically charged. It's like sticking to my stick. And sticking to the cup. I mean, epoxy by itself is definitely strong. In my experience, everything I've read, if you really want like a super strong bond, you add a filler. I know a lot of people seem to think just epoxy by itself is fine, and in a lot of cases it is. Getting into the high powered stuff though, yeah, definitely start adding a filler. And honestly, this stuff, it does get a little clumpy. I'm wondering if I should have actually sifted that. It's not a bad idea. Taking small batches of it and sift it into like another container first to declump it. I should have a timer going on my phone right now so I can keep track of, you know, how long I've been stirring, and because like I said, in the pot I'm gonna get maybe 15 minutes. But that's also one of the other reasons I like the West system instead of using, like, you know, the same thing. I could dump this out on this piece of cardboard or on a paper plate or something, and it would slow the reaction down because it wouldn't. Its own heat wouldn't be speeding up its own reaction. I'm just trying to kind of smash out the bigger chunks and lumps here. I think one of them, I don't know if it's West System or Total Boat, one of them sell a dye. Well, lots of different pigments and dyes. But one of them specifically sell a pigment that you can add that changes based on the hardness and whatnot, based on the reaction. So it's kind of cool. You can dye your stuff and then you'll know how cured it is based on how much color's left in it or not, or whatever way it works, you know. So it's a color changing is what it is. This almost has a sweet smell to it. See if I can get a better view of the consistency here. That's a little thin. You know, I could add more filler to that, but I'm also getting low on time. What to do? Yeah, it's a little runny yet. I am going to go ahead and add another half a scoop or so. Let's start with that and see where it gets us. You can use all kinds of stuff for filler. My father, when we used to use this stuff on his boats, would actually use sawdust. I believe the Rocket Blog guy he found a source for getting chopped carbon fiber. So that's going to be really strong. The point to the fillers is obviously to kind of change the thickness and consistency of the epoxy without having to change the recipe and or ratio. But it also makes for a stronger bond because it allows it you know, you have all these small internal structures for the epoxy to bond to, and basically the more surface area, the stronger the bond. That, and it also adds material into the gap, or gaps thereof, I should say. Yeah, that's better. See if I can get a good picture of this. Yeah, it's a little thicker. It's a little better. It's starting to heat up though, so I gotta start moving. I think I'm going to skip the syringe. Just because I don't want to run out of time. I'm sorry I don't have a better angle of this. I actually might just kind of dump some of this in. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. It's internal. It doesn't have to be pretty. Honestly, if I had the time and the weight, I might just literally fill the whole fucking thing. Excuse my French. Yeah. Look at me. Totally unprepared here. Paper towels. I wasn't thinking, and I brought it a little too far back because remember, I still have to actually put the aft ring in yet. I'm just going to dump it in every little crack here. And space. And then start smearing it around. I hope I don't regret this decision. That's the thing about epoxy. It's, you know. And of course, it just dripped it on my sweats. Which is why I'm wearing sweats. Yeah, don't wear nice clothes when you're doing this. Smear it all over that rail button, that's good. The size of doll I picked specifically because it fit very nicely into all the areas that I needed to epoxy. this is why I'm not using a 5-minute epoxy. As you can see, you're very limited on your time. Now, the other reason I use this particular filler and I went for that kind of consistency is because I do want it to have some penetrating power into the wood and the cardboard itself. So it creates a very good, strong bond. Most important points of contact are obviously your fins to the motor mount. Trying to get good light here, that's another trick. Like I said, you're doing internal fillet work right now. It does not have to be pretty at all. It can be an absolute disgusting mess in there, and that's totally fine. So don't get hung up on that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Matter of fact, if it is just a giant glob mess down in the bottom, hey, it's probably even better. You won't have any weak spots. Pouring method is probably not the best. I got all these big globs I gotta try to maneuver. Although putting big globs in there with a syringe so you can get them pretty much right in the area you want them is probably not a bad idea. I know a lot of guys who do it that way. It seems to be a really good trick is to kind of get a bunch on your doll, and as you're, oh man, I got a ton right there. Let me get that. As you're pulling the doll out, you give it a little twist in the area of where the internal fillet would be, and it kind of just smears it all over the intended area then. Go back and smash it into the actual gap. Alright, she's starting to thicken up on me here. So what I'm going to do, while that is still wet and before it flashes on me, clean up some of this excess around here. Oh yeah, that's warm. Alright, good. Should be just enough. I'm gonna get this ring to go in. Might actually have enough to do a coupler as well. 2 pumps might have been just a hair too much. Honestly, I could have put more on the inside if I wanted to, but I got enough in the right areas. And this stuff with that filler, you know, it started to, oh yeah, I got a big hard chunk in there. Oops, that flashed. It started to thicken up quick enough that I didn't have to worry about it running too much. That was the other reason I used the filler. Honestly, I could probably just do this with my finger. Probably almost better that way. It's a cleaner fillet. And now would probably be a good time to take the string out. Oh, this is getting tacky. Uh-oh. Oh no! I could actually throw a little bit of rubbing alcohol in it right now to thin it out just a hair. You can do that. That's all right. I'm kind of glad that happened, because it gives you an idea how long it takes. It's still workable, by all means. All right. Now I can fill those holes too. You know, it's definitely just thickened up and getting almost tacky. I have a big hard blob in there. It's almost, yeah. I probably should have dumped that on a paper plate. Don't forget to get the inside. Obviously, I don't want to waste a lot of this, you know. I mean, that's the other way you do it, is you do smaller batches and you just do multiple, you know. Yeah. You probably could have done a single 1 pump batch and just done 2 or 3 batches like that, or really only 2. Now would probably be a good time to put the retainer on as well. I'm going to try to fill these holes a little more. tacky. Get some of this. Not that it matters much. Okay, noted. Now the retainer, they say to use JB Weld. Which is definitely what I want to do, just because I don't know what the pressure and or temperature limits of this West system is, but so I'm just going to clean off quite a bit that I got on the motor tube and probably have to do a little bit of sanding. So I'd rather do that and have a JB Weld on it than go the other route now. Oh, that's rock hard. Yeah, I think that batch is just about done. We'll see. Maybe I can get some of it down on the other side here. At least over my other rail button. Trying not to get it all over the damn rocket. Yeah, I'll at least get the rail button covered, for sure. Suppose you could practice this somehow, you know. By taking a wood dowel and, I don't know, smearing peanut butter on something. I do want to do, it's gonna be fucking tricky as hell. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get that real easily down in there. Nope. That's pretty much, I mean, it's workable. I'll try getting epoxy all the way outside the rocket. It's too hard now. Okay, that was an adventure. As you can see, because I left it in the pot, it flashed up pretty hard. I'll show you. I mean, it's barely workable. And I got this big hunkin' chunk right here that just, and that's what I mean by runaway effect. You know, I wasn't actually watching my time. I should have had a timer. So try to get some lessons from that. Like I said, maybe practice smearing peanut butter inside something with a dowel first. Definitely practice inside your rocket with something. So I'm going to try to clean some of this up real quick before it gets too hard, and I'll see you guys shortly. Alright, so I got the initial mess cleaned up real quick. I just wanted to make a quick note. You know, on the inside here, on the inside where I put epoxy on the back of this rail button. Obviously, you want to make sure your shock cord is not leaning against that, otherwise you're going to glue it to the side of the airframe, which it wouldn't necessarily be horrible. It wouldn't be rocket ending, but not necessarily the best. Also, you probably can't see it, but there was a pretty decent gap all along my fins, and this is why I used the filler I did, was because when I did those internal fillets, it pretty much kind of started to gush out that gap, not real far at all. But basically it filled the gap exactly like I wanted to. So it's thick enough now that I can leave it upright like this, and I don't have to worry about all the epoxy running down to one end, for example. And since I had poured it in pretty heavy up in the top, if it is going to run a little, I'd rather have it run back down towards the bottom and then kind of be a slightly more even spread. I'm going to let that set up for probably a couple of hours. And then I'm going to do another batch. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do my coupler and the rest of the airframe yet. And then my fillets. And that's probably what I'll do, because once I do that, the rocket will be balanced enough that I can use it in my cradle to tape off and do my external fillets, which I will probably do an even thicker mix with the filler. So, all right, that's it for now. Thanks.